probably a good segue for moving over into to the key topic that you chose. Can you share some key principles, I guess, for a manager that should keep in mind when it comes to strategic planning?
The first thing I would say is in planning is understand the problem that you're trying to solve for in the first instance, and don't conflate and confuse those things with the things you've always done, and or that have always been done. I think secondly, once you've actually really mapped the problem that you're trying to solve for, be creative around trying to explore the ways that that problem could be, um, or that the plan could be brought together. So I think often, particularly if we almost call it the engineering mindset, it's about trying to then come back to rigid principles. But we're dealing with very, it's high performance sport, particularly, is a very complex environment. There's a lot of things changing all the time. So an element of creativity and freshness is important because of that.
For those listening in that struggle to tap into their creative side, do you have some tips to sort of, I guess, fire that or light that flame?
Like, we all probably have a bit of it in us. And I think the things that limit creativity are an environment where there's a sense of a preconceived way, that there is there's utility, there's importance around having things done a certain way and done relatively consistently. But if people feel like that is a closed door and there's no way to challenge with new ways of thinking and new opportunities, then they're instantly going to shut off their creative pathway. So I think being really careful at a creative environment, thinking about the ways that we make sure we're not really setting up an environment that limits creativity might be the easier way for people. So that is, being really overt. If you're the leader in the group, trying to overtly talk about, we're open to ideas. Let's for a moment, like, let's create a bit of time for free discussion.
Going back to that in terms of like reviews and the reflection piece as a team, do you think the environment that you're hosting that review, like around having, let's say, on a campfire and just going outdoors compared to, I guess, in an office, can help
Yeah,
stimulate a bit more creativity and different and lateral thinking?
I think a change of scene absolutely helps people open their mind to things within the precinct of work. People clearly articulated they struggle to separate their mind from work, whereas when they were taken to a completely different situation, it was a lot easier for them.
When going into a new organization, what's with all the same age level of squad of athletes? What's some of your favorite strategies to sort of work out when you're managing a group on what level or what stage the athletes are specifically at with their development?
There's two things that come to mind at odds with one another. One is, I think, going into any new scenario, trying to listen first is and try and understand exactly back to my earlier point, trying to understand the problem first is the biggest thing. It's very powerful. And there's actually power in your opinion, particularly when you get in there. Now, it's easier if you go in with some credibility, and if you're withholding your opinion and you have credibility, it builds a little bit of anxiety not anxiety. Anxiety is the wrong word, but it builds some almost expectation and hope around when your opinion comes. And I think there's power in resisting the temptation to provide your opinion too early. I think the second part of it, though, is looking across the sports system at the moment. There's a lot of talk about what makes great coaches, and the one thing I do think about really good coaches is that they're very good instinctually around seeing through noise and getting to the truth of matters. Like, they can kind of see bluff and bluster that a lot of individuals might bring into pressured situations to see what's at the core.
What would be your key advice for communicating effectively to large groups? She's worked for a state sporting body part, and her role is to communicate changes in policy, results, etc., to a membership.
Sometimes when there's complicated things to explain, people just want to read the executive version of it, and I think often without understanding the detail, you can't understand the executive version. So I think it's important not to miss the critical details when you're explaining something to a group. If you're trying to explain how it is going to happen, and often people will talk about, why are we doing this? Making sure that the reason and the benefit, what's in my interest and what's in your interest in us doing this, is really important.